Today's conversation is about the often overlooked role of location in how we make decisions. It's inspired by Brent's Rivr Notes post, Where Decisions Are Made. We'll explore how the setting, whether it's intentionally designed or simply away from the usual distractions, can create the clarity and connection we need to make meaningful choices. Because big decisions aren't just about timing or process, they're about creating the right conditions, and that starts with where you choose to think. I'm Andy, your Rivr Conversations host, and part of the AI team working alongside Brent, the creator of Rivr Notes and this podcast. Rivr Conversations is an extension of Brent's popular weekly newsletter, Rivr Notes. Each week, two of our expert Rivr guides sit down to reflect on the latest note, sharing insights, takeaways, and stories that explore leadership, performance, and wellness in a grounded, thoughtful way. With that in mind, let's step into the Rivr and hear what our guides uncovered in this week's journey.
Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating journey into something many of us probably don't give enough thought to. And that's the surprising, maybe even profound power of where you choose to make your most important decisions. Forget just finding a quiet room for a second. This is about how your actual environment can fundamentally reshape your ability to think clearly, to connect with others, and ultimately to gain real clarity. Get ready for some, I think, genuine aha moments here.
That's right. Our main source for this is an insight excerpt from Brent's Rivr Notes newsletter. It's a piece titled Where Decisions Are Made, and it offers a really compelling look at not just that our environment influences us, because I think we know that, but how it profoundly impacts our cognitive functions.
Right, the deeper stuff.
Exactly. Our ability to truly think, to connect meaningfully with colleagues or family, and to arrive at those critical, forward-shaping choices.
Absolutely. So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We want to unpack the core arguments Brent presents in this piece. We'll dive into some vivid real-world examples he shares, and then try to distill some actionable insights that you, our listener, can maybe use right away. Ways to cultivate your own optimal decision-making spaces, wherever you happen to be. Okay, let's unpack this. So our journey kicks off with a really captivating personal experience Brent shared. It sets the scene perfectly. He describes pulling off this dirt road maybe an hour and a half outside of Kansas City, following some pretty sparse instructions. Something like, call security at the gate.
Okay, sounds a bit mysterious.
Yeah, a little bit. But what happened next wasn't just, helpful. It was instantly welcoming. The voice on the intercom apparently greeted him by name. Hi, Brent. Come on up, take your first right, and we'll see you soon. Imagine that. He immediately felt expected, like he belonged there.
That personal touch makes a difference.
It really does. And the approach itself started setting a tone. Open fields, a working ranch, these carefully placed cabins, still ponds reflecting this really tranquil landscape. When he arrived, a warm gentleman greeted him like an old friend, welcomed him to Maple Ranch. So this wasn't just showing up to a location, it was stepping into an immediate, almost enveloping sensory experience. It felt like it was designed to shift your state right away.
What's fascinating here, I think, is how that immediate welcome and the tranquil surroundings you described, how they connect directly to the ranch's deliberate design, its foundation. You see, Brent was there to co-facilitate a strategic board off-site.
Right, a big deal for any company.
Exactly. The kind of event where you really need to dig into a 5-year plan, maybe challenge some core assumptions, align on a shared vision, crucial stuff. And the general manager, who, interestingly, also sat on the company's board, revealed the founder's singular vision for Maple Ranch to create an environment specifically where people could come together to make big decisions. That was the purpose. And apparently every single detail at Maple Ranch, right from the moment you arrived, reflected that intent. It wasn't accidental.
And the source gives us some really concrete details that illustrate this intentional design for clarity and presence. From the moment the group arrived, the staff seemed to anticipate every need, making it incredibly easy to just stay focused on the work. They were described as always available, yet never in the way. Think about that balance.
That's a subtle art, isn't it?
It really is,
Yeah.
A sort of invisible layer of support. And the meals, curated by the chef, weren't just exceptional food, they were thoughtfully timed. The entire schedule apparently flexed around the group's needs. If a meeting ran long or an important conversation needed to extend, everything adapted.
That flexibility is key.
Totally. It's such a stark contrast to trying to squeeze those monumental decisions into the rigid confines of a typical office day, right? Where you're constantly battling meeting room bookings ending or rushing off for lunch.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it becomes really clear that Maple Ranch wasn't just a nice place to visit. It was, well, a meticulously engineered environment. The physical space itself was designed to reduce cognitive load and actually promote reflection.
How so?
Well, you had walking trails for breaks and that kind of diffuse thinking, cozy nooks for quiet individual contemplation, and then these wide open rooms that encouraged more expansive collaborative discussions. That balance is crucial.
I see. Different spaces for different kinds of thinking.
Precisely. It was remote enough to feel genuinely removed from the usual digital noise and office distractions, that constant hum of emails or Slack messages, yet you were fully connected when you actually needed to be. It was comfortable, definitely, but specifically designed not to be distracting. This wasn't accidental. It was purpose-built with that one singular goal to make complex, big decisions truly possible. It sort of frees up your mental bandwidth from the everyday small stuff, so your brain can actually engage in higher-level strategic thinking.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Because the outcome Brent witnessed there at Maple Ranch was tangible, almost immediate. The source tells us the board was present, focused, and engaged.
That's the trifecta right there.
Exactly. They weren't glancing at their phones or racing back to check emails between sessions or multitasking through conversations, which, let's be honest, is kind of the unfortunate norm in so many work environments today. Instead, they had space, mentally, physically, emotionally, to actually think clearly and creatively. You can just picture it. People genuinely thinking deeply, not just reacting to the next notification or the last urgent email.
That shift from reactive processing to, well, genuine proactive thought, that's often what happens when you intentionally remove those constant low-level distractions. And that powerful experience at Maple Ranch then serves as a really profound illustration for a broader, maybe universal principle. Brent notes that while Maple Ranch is a particularly potent example, he's facilitated similar highly productive retreats in a whole range of other intentional offsite locations. Things like mountain lodges, other remote ranches, even desert retreats. The common thread woven through all these different environments is consistent. You step away from the relentless day-to-day grind precisely so you can gain the perspective needed to see further ahead, beyond the immediate horizon.
It makes so much sense when you put it like that, doesn't it? And it's not just about, having a nice view or better snacks. Though, as the source points out, great snacks always help.
Can't argue with that.
Right. But the core idea isn't luxury. It's fundamentally about creating an environment where teams can genuinely slow down, where they can reconnect with each other on a deeper level and focus on the kind of work that truly matters.
Think about it this way. This is the kind of strategic work that shapes the next 5 years of company, not just the next 5 weeks.
That's a great distinction. It's like trying to plot a complex, long-distance ocean voyage while you're still battling choppy waters right there in the harbor. You need to get out to calm, open waters, maybe even drop anchor for a bit to properly assess your bearings, consult your charts, and plot your true course ahead. You need that space.
Yeah, that analogy works well. And this raises an important question. What else tends to happen in these unique intentional environments that contribute so profoundly to better decision-making? The source highlights an often overlooked yet incredibly powerful benefit: human connection.
Ah, interesting. How so?
Well, people connect in ways they rarely do in the structured, often transactional environment of a typical office. They take walks together during breaks. They share meals without rushing off to the next meeting. They have real, unhurried conversations that go beyond immediate tasks or agendas.
More informal interaction.
Exactly. And this deepened human connection becomes incredibly potent fuel. Fuel for better thinking, for fostering stronger alignment within a group, and ultimately for arriving at clearer, more unified decisions. It's often in those informal, unguarded interactions that the real breakthroughs happen, building trust and understanding.
Now, what I find particularly compelling is that this isn't just a recommendation for big teams or company offsites. It's something Brent, the author, relies on personally for his own big decision. When he's facing a truly significant choice, he makes a deliberate effort to create space for it. And that space, he shares, is almost always outdoors. He says it's not like a rigid ritual or some forced, uncomfortable process, but more of a trusted rhythm he's learned to rely on for himself.
That makes sense. Getting outside often shifts perspective.
Yeah.
So what does he do? Well, his personal methods for finding clarity outdoors involve things like a hike, maybe a run, or sometimes just a quiet walk. The universal goal, regardless of the specific activity, is always the same. Get outside, disconnect from the constant noise, the noise of daily life, digital interruptions, all of that, and just listen.
Listen to what?
To his own thoughts, primarily, and maybe to the environment around him. He shares this really profound realization. He says, clarity doesn't come because I force it. It comes because I've created the conditions where it can surface.
Wow, that's powerful.
It really is. It's not about brute forcing a solution or relentlessly trying to think harder. It's about cultivating the right environment, both internal and external, that allows insights to emerge more naturally. This often taps into what psychologists call diffuse mode thinking, where your brain makes these nonlinear connections that focused analytical thought might miss.
Right, letting the subconscious work a bit. So, okay, what does this all mean for you, our listener, listening right now? The core universal principle here seems undeniably clear. Big decisions deserve intentional space.
It's a powerful idea, and frankly, it challenges our modern habits, doesn't it?
It really does.
Because too often we try to make these absolutely crucial, future-shaping decisions in the margins, squeezing them in between meetings while distracted by 10 other tasks, or maybe reacting to the latest urgent email notification. But the decisions that truly shape our future, whether that's personally, professionally, or for an entire organization, they deserve so much more than that.
They absolutely do.
They deserve our full, undivided attention. They deserve our very best thinking. And, as we've heard, they unequivocally deserve an environment that actively supports both of those things.
The really good news here is that this intentional space isn't exclusive to, sprawling 10,000-acre ranches or remote mountain lodges, while those sound amazing and probably are ideal in some ways.
Right, not accessible for everyone every time. The source offers concrete, highly relatable examples for finding this essential space, regardless of your resources or your location. Sure, it could be a cabin in the woods, yes, but it could also just be a quiet park bench a few blocks from your home, or maybe even a long walking trail where you intentionally leave your phone behind, or at least turn off the notifications.
So the scale isn't the main point.
Not at all. The key isn't the grandeur of the location. It's the intention behind choosing it and using it. The goal is to find your version of that space, whatever form it takes. Maybe it's just a designated distraction-free corner of your living room, or that specific quiet coffee shop you can think in. Find your space and then respect the decision you need to make by giving it the environment it truly deserves.
So the core takeaway from this deep dive feels incredibly powerful, actually. Where you make decisions truly matters. Maybe even more than we've ever stopped to realize.
Indeed. And perhaps a final thought to leave you with. We encourage you to consciously observe, maybe over the next week or so, where you naturally find your own moments of clarity. Is it on your morning commute? Is it while you're doing something mundane like washing dishes? In a specific quiet room? Pay attention to that.
Or be proactive about it.
Right. Or perhaps for your next truly significant decision, intentionally seek out a new space for it. Whether that's a dedicated spot you prepare in your home, maybe that local park bench you haven't really used for deep thinking before, or even just taking a different route for your daily walk. Experiment with it and truly observe how shifting your environment might profoundly transform your thinking and ultimately the quality of your decisions.
Great advice. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
That's it for this week's episode. To close out each Rivr conversation, I like to describe the photo featured in the Rivr Notes newsletter. It's not just a stock image. It comes from a real adventure. After all, the best ideas often come from staying curious, embracing new perspectives, and engaging with the world around us. This week's photo was taken above the clouds, literally. From high in the sky, we're looking out over a vast, pillowy expanse that stretches endlessly in every direction. It's a sea of white, soft, and rolling, like a landscape made entirely of light. But what draws your eye is what rises from it. A single, towering cloud formation, bold and sculpted, reaching skyward with purpose. Against a deep blue sky, it stands out in striking contrast. Strong, luminous, almost architectural in its shape. There's a stillness to the image, but also a sense of momentum. Like this is a place where things come into focus, where the noise falls away and you're left with altitude, clarity, and perspective. It's the kind of view that invites reflection, not just on what's ahead, but on where you are when you're deciding what comes next. If you'd like to read the full Rivr Notes article, including all the amazing photographs, you can find it at onrivr.com. That's Rivr without an E. And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts so you never miss a conversation. Before we go, a quick reminder. The opinions and viewpoints expressed in this podcast are solely those of the presenters and our AI companions, sharing personal reflections and perspectives. We're not legal experts, medical professionals, or therapists. This content is for informational and entertainment purposes only, so please consult the appropriate professionals when you need advice or support. Thanks again for listening. Rivr Conversations is an On Rivr LLC production.